Kakadosh Boker Or, we're continuing with the business halacha. If you remember yesterday, we spoke about the Gemara in Mesechet Sanhedrin. Taf Pe Aleph Amud Aleph, and we learned the Marsha, which basically, which basically was speaking about that a person is going to be a tzaddik, that he will live in this world and the next world, which that was a Sefer Dikrav, tzaddik hu chayo yichyeh, which means that he's like a tzaddik gamur, which means that he's not going to be eating from the zechut avot, and he will not be haughty, which means that he's going to be humble, but that's what it means that he's not going to do avodah gilulim, right? Because why? Because he didn't do komaz zekufa, which means he didn't go outstretched with his nose up in the air, and he did not defile his friend's wife, which did not contaminate her. What is that referring to? That he was not yored le'umanot chavero. And then when it says Velishav nida lo kirev, he didn't come close to his wife nida, or a woman that's a nida. It means he was not ne'ena mikupat shel tzedakah. And the reason why is because if he's going to be ne'ena from kupat tzedakah and somebody else bemet needs the tzedakah more than him, so for that's like a tumat nida. That's like kilu, that he's distancing himself from that. And we saw the Rashi and we saw the Marsha, that the Marsha explained, right, this Gemara. Now, according to this, it comes out, and this was the Shulchan Aruch Rav in the name of the Rambam, which that was on page 9. We mentioned that this was the Midat Chasidut shelo lered litoch umanut chavero, not to go down to umanut chavero, but it says ve'eteshet reu lo timeh, right? And then he says, or lo asa lereu ra'ah. And Chachamim come and they say shelo yered litoch umanut chavero. So what are we trying to say here? We're trying to say that even if it's going to be that it could be that it's going to be permitted mitzad halacha to do competition, right? In those certain instances, in those certain cases where it might be even permitted. You want a booklet? Yeah. He comes and he says, still, what's going to happen? It's going to be there's a midat chasidut still not to do it. So now go to page 10, which is the Shut Chatam Sofer. Yeah. So he comes and he says like this. Pasik Shema Revi'i, we're talking about Yored Le'umanuto. Yeah, so he comes and he says, somebody that's going to be Yored Letoch Umanut Shel Chavero. So he says, Lichora Nid'eh, right? Lichora it appears, Kol HaNogea Binyan Ze, Asur Mideoraita. Okay? It's going to be Asur Mideoraita. Vegezel Gamur Hu Min HaTorah. And it's going to be Gezel Gamur Min HaTorah. Right? He comes and he brings it down also that it's not only just Gazanim, right? He's talking about Yored Leumanut, right? Gezel Gamur. So it's going to be Gezel Doraita, not Rabbanan. So here it's actually something very interesting. And then look on the bottom, right, where again you're going to have the underline on the side where it says Ulfiya Ne'atati hu bichlalu dichtiv uven achiv ven gero, right? Umfaresh besifrim lashon ger vedarimo. It's like a ger, but he's living with him, just like the aim says Parashat Dvarim. She'af al gav, right? The Sanhedrin, the Zayin Mubed Darish Bnei Ben, right? By Laliyahu ben Tirun Likiraim. Mikomakom Akol Bichlal. Everything is the same thing. So what are we trying to say here? Something very, very interesting. Look on the bottom. On the bottom you have it bivrit v'gam be'anglit. Look what it says. Hachatam sofer nakat she'yorelu manut chavero hu isur doraita mishum gezel. Meaning, if you're going to come and you're going to do competition, it's pashut your gezel, your gazlan, right? But that's doraita. So he says, "V'torah masra lechazal ligdora isur mutar." So when it says that the chachamim are coming, chachamim are the ones that are telling you, is it considered, like, what are the gedarim? Meaning, what are the criteria that fall into yoreh letuch umanut chavero or not? Right? That's what they're trying to say. Okay? So he says over here, yeah, so he says over here, right? Velo balachlok al shulchan aruch harav b'shem Rambam. Right? He's not coming to argue in the Shulchan Aruch and in the Shulchan Aruch Harav in the name of the Rambam. Because if you remember over here, right, the Shulchan Aruch Harav said, Midat Chasidut shelo leletoch hamunot chavero. So one second, is it Midat Chasidut? Or it's an Avera? And Isur Doraita. There's a big difference, right? או, זה מה שאנחנו נדבר עליו, כמובן. Right? One second. זאת אומרת ככה, אם כבר בן אדם כן יורד לתוך אמונות חברו, right? מה האיסור? האם זה מידת חסידות? בגלל זה היה שולחן ערוך הגר"ז בשם הרמב"ם, או האם זה איסור דורייתא? צריכים להבין. אז הוא אומר פה, רק מיידי בציור שבאמת יורד לחייו שלא כדין. והרמב"ם מיירי בהרחקת בעלמא שמותרות על פי הדין. An incredible Khatam Sofer. What's going on? The Khatam Sofer is coming and saying like this. The Shulchan Aruch Agraz quoted the Rambam, and he says it's Midat Chasidut. So what is Midat Chasidut? Midat Chasidut means, listen, I'm not a Chasid, so maybe I don't need to do it. Maybe I'm allowed to do whatever I want. Yeah? So he comes and he says, sorry, 1 second. What is this? Yeah. So he comes and he says, okay, fine. So is it Midat Chasidut or is it Doraita? So comes the Khatam Sofer and he's not going to argue. And he says like this. If right now, Be'emet, you're doing any suit of Yoreh L'toch Emunot Chavro, what does that mean? Bo nagid, it's Be'emet, it's a suit for you to open up the competition. Why? Whether it's going to be that you came from another city, whether it's going to be that you don't pay taxes, whether it's going to be that you're for sure going to put them out of business, right? Which means that now it becomes an Isur Doraita, right? Now it's an Isur Doraita, you're not allowed to do it. And if you do it, you're pashut a gazlan. Gazlan is mamash a thief, right? Mamash kacha. But let's say I come and I go to a bedin, and the bedin tell me it's permitted. Why? You both live in the same city, you pay the taxes, and you're not going to put him out of business. You're just going to minimize his revachim. How do you call it? You're going to minimize his profits.
Not to do your Hasid.
So that's called midat chasidut. That's the Shulchan Aruch Agraz. So therefore, there's going to be halacha. Which one? So then it's a sur. Then you're gazlan. Then.
You can do it, and you decide not to because it's your conscience.
So then it's midat chasidut.
יש פה איזה עסק שאתה יכול לתת דוגמה שיש מישהו אחד שעושה אותו
אמרתי לך כבר. ב-41st Street, קסטנרס, if the supermarket, שזה היה כמו קושרלנד, כן? פעם זה היה, פיליפ קנה את זה מהבן אדם הזה, והשני קנה ממנו. כן? מה קרה? He had a shop for I don't know how many years. He was the only one. 41st. He was the only one on 41st Street.
אני יודע שיש שם סופר, איפה...
No, זה היום, זה כבר נסגר.
המחירים הכי אש.
No, but you have to...
No, nowadays, yeah.
יש לך פה את יס מרקט, קסנר הוא ממול,
ויש לך כושר פרייס.
No, היה קסנרס לבד. הוא היה לבד.
קסנר וכושרלנד, והיה שני קסנר.
מה זה כושרלנד?
בתור אונר?
קושרלנד היה פה, instead of the grove.
בן זקן, הוא היה נשיא.
הוא אונר.
כן, הוא היה...
No, one owner for both.
קסנר זה היה באותו בן אדם, בן זקן עכשיו גר בבית שמש. אוקיי, היה לו בסרפסייד, והיה לו בזה. קסנר זה היה הגדול. קסנר פה בזה היה הקטן שלו. בסדר? הבנת עד עכשיו? יופי. הוא מכר לפיליפ את זה.
פה שם מדבר, זה קושרלנד.
כן, קושרלנד.
והשני הוא מכר למישהו אחר.
אוקיי.
ב-41.
אוקיי.
ההוא שמניו יורק החזיק את הקסנר הזה.
ב-41.
כן, פתאום פתחו לו את אבו חרי.
קושר פרייס?
כן, קושר פרייס. איפה גדנים לגיא? אני אוהב שמות. וממול היה...
רגע, ניו יורקי קנה את זה.
מה זאת אומרת?
לא, שאלתי אותך.
כן, אבל הוא גר. הוא
חי פה?
לא, הוא גר פה, כן.
אוקיי.
ואבו חרי הוא גר פה כבר לפני הרבה שנים. הוא פתח כושר פרייס. אבל הוא...
זה in English.
Sorry, the kosher price opened next door. But the reality is that he was a big advocate of the Bet Yosef. Him, I don't know if you remember Tzachi Cohen.
צחי כהן זיכרון לברכה?
Yeah, Tzachi Cohen זיכרון לברכה was his partner of the Bukharian guy. And they brought like Bet Yosef to South Florida in a very, very, very hard thing. They had a factory. I was next door to them. That's how I know the story. But
so the question is like this: if they would have gone to a bedin.
But the thing is, okay, he sell it to someone. Okay, no problem. They open another one, no?
Yes.
Abu Khari פתח עוד אחד.
Okay.
איזה בעיה, איזה problem?
ודאי. בגלל if right now by opening up.
It's long street, it's big
yes,
street.
But even if it's a big street, if by you opening up,
people live in Miami
if
Beach,
you open up the competition, אתה שומע? If you open up the competition, and by you opening up the competition, you put me out of business, לא שאתה minimize, זאת אומרת שאין לי הרבה רווחים, אבל זה יקרה.
So you have one space only for one?
Yeah.
Who decide?
They come and they take
One second. You know how many people live in Miami Beach?
If I tell you
how many tourists come every season?
No,
They
he's
come
saying
and they
is,
could.
he's saying is, what if you have, for example, a city that has, call it
They need
on
to. It's
first
not for
41st
business.
Street. You have 1,000,000 people. One supermarket.
No,
Palm
a million
Beach.
people. First of all,
But
there's
you
no
know what?
million people in Miami Beach, right? Let me explain to you. Let me wait a second. Let me explain. If you don't let me explain, so how you want me to do?
Once, if somebody sells a square pizza versus a round versus this versus that, okay, there's
No, it's not a square and round. It wasn't because of the shape. It was a completely different product.
Okay, Casters was known to do glatt, to do whatever. This guy comes into the game and says, you know what? I know that, for example, people from our community go and buy the meat from him because he's strictly Bet Yosef, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
Okay.
he changed it. So his idea was to bring the Bet Yosef to over there.
So if he only brings Bet Yosef,
on top of it, he's Bukharian, and there's a very big Bukharian community on the 41st Street that requested that there's a Bukharian shul on the 41st.
but it doesn't. One second, I don't understand you. Imagine right now, I'm going to come and I'm going to open up my pizza store. I'm going to say, you know why? Because I'm Moroccan. So a lot of Moroccans ask me to open up a pizza shop. Yeah, sure.
Maybe there's things that he sells that are.
So one second. So listen. Can you listen? Right? Shema and then Ledaber. Yeah, Shema and then. So listen carefully. Right? One more time. Right? The halacha is, I cannot open up my business if I'm going to put you out of business.
I don't want to put you out.
But it doesn't matter if you want or you don't want. But if you're going to automatically put me out of business, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. The way that they went and they did it was, right? The way that they went and they did it is very, very simple. They take statistics of the past few years.
Okay.
And they come and they say, okay, fine. Last year, how much money do you make? Yeah, let's say I come and I made $100,000. Right now, from those $100,000 or whatever it was that I made, $200,000, they come and they say, okay, you have to pay your employees, you have to pay yourself, you have to pay this. So how much money did you make? That. If you're going to now come and you're going to open up a competition next door, so instead of your sales being 300,000, right now they're going to be 150,000.
It's not good
Now,
calculation.
one second. So therefore, right, what happens is that if right now they come and they say, okay, so what's going to happen? So if I'm only making $150,000 and I have to pay the employees, so I'm going to have to close down. I have to shut down.
The customer has the choice. He can go A.
It's nothing to
he
do with the
can go B.
customer. Has nothing to do with the customer. Has nothing to do with the customer. You could always say that a customer. I'm going to open up. You know what? I'm going to be very, very smart. Right. The thing is, the Grove. Right. They were going to do it, and they were very, very smart because they just took it over. If I right now I'm a multi-billionaire, and I don't care about money, meaning I'm going to be losing money. But you know what? But I don't care. And my thing is I'm going to open up right in front of Grove, over here on Surfside, and I'm going to come and I'm going to do half prices on everything. You're going to ask me, why are you doing that? Because I don't care about money. I don't really need money. I don't want to take them down. I don't want to take them out of business. I want that you should have a cheap thing. Now you're going to tell me, well, 1 second. Well, the customers have the choice. Well, obviously customers have the choice, but am I allowed to open up a shop? Right? Or I went to the extreme. I told you half the price. Not half the price. Cost price. Not even at cost price. 10% margin.
Without talking about the price, if the employers are smiling, oh, welcome, and they wanted, of course I go there. And
but you are not allowed. But you are not allowed to open up a competition. You're not allowed to open a competition, right? Which is going to put me out of business if I'm the only one that's there.
But what I told you, if the one sells glatt and the other one
that's why I told you. If he's only going to open up, because that's a shuk. So the shuk is that it's meant for that. So everybody comes and they bring their products from outside. They sell in the shuk. But that's the thing. They're coming and they're all going to a shuk. A shuk is meant for that. A shuk is not a Surfside street. Understand? Again, if you're going to open up a store only of Bet Yosef, then fine, because then you're giving a product that nobody has. No, so then that's a problem, because then that you're not allowed to make the competition. You cannot come
maybe if you look at kosher price, the only problem that there is right now is really when I think about it is his name, kosher price. Meaning that if he would have said Bet Yosef or something in his name, maybe his goal is like you say.
But it's not a kosher price. He wants on everything. Yeah. He wants to take it. And what was the proof? They closed down. Now, what does it mean to close down? Meaning that there was not enough money to have three stores on Miami Beach.
Kastner was if not the most, one of the most expensive stores when I came here.
And you're going to tell me that the Grove is not also right in front of your face.
They're very
So
expensive.
therefore, now the question though is, if you're going to open up another Grove right in front,
Question.
right, would you put them out of business? So first of all, you have to have a lot of money because you have to know that you're going to be losing money. But can you do that? So then that's the question. The question is, are you allowed to do that?
The people
So what? So what?
can't afford it. They
What that is, 40,000.
It doesn't matter what people could afford or not afford. It's right now, right? Right now, you're going to tell me what you can't afford. You live in Surfside. You live in Bal Harbor. So, no. You can't afford because this you don't want to pay extra. But when it's to do with the car that they do want to pay extra. So, who are you to decide? No. I can't afford a Grove.
You know what?
But I could afford my I don't know what and my this and my taxes and everything else. So therefore, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. We go to a bedin. The bedin come and they're going to ask you, can 2 stores survive in this area?
So I have another question.
You know what?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
I have a question because